Before we start the video, tomorrow, 19th of August, I will be hosting a watch party for the Summer Summit event, where all sorts of new content will be announced. The watch party is on twitch.tv Kriibus, so if you want to join us and discuss the future of Oldschool Runescape together, come say hi. Also, stick around until the end of this video for a chance to win a free pond. Love you all very much. Mwah. Did you know that elite clues used to have 12 steps before you can complete them, making them the longest clues in the Oldschool Runescape history? Or the fact that Runescape calendar has 10 months? Or maybe the fact that you can make your very own fish food by adding a quam leaf and seaweed to an empty box? Or just a fun little fact that Dunstan can actually fix your Barras armor. Honestly, I can keep doing this all day long. I love this kind of stuff. And I have plenty more where that came from. There used to be a PvM Arena. Yes, you heard that right. Not player versus player, but you used to be able to fight against all monsters in a temporary arena. And somehow it's still in the game to this day. It's basically a minigame style arena where two different teams compete against each other to kill the most amount of bosses in 1 hour. And it was part of an event in 2015 to find out the best clan in Oldschool Runescape. As time went on during that 1 hour period, you would get more and more difficult varieties of bosses, like fighting all 4 cardboard bosses at the same time or having all wilderness bosses spawn at the same time, until one team either ends up with 0 hit points or the 1 hour mark is up. Like I said, I love this kind of fun little nuggets from the past that not many people know about. So today I want to show you my very own personal top 10 facts about Oldschool Runescape. Starting with the fact that completing the Desert Treasure 1 quest actually gives you 20,007 experience. And you might be wondering, where is that extra 7 experience coming from? Well, the developer of that quest was a bit of a troll, and he wanted to put in the funny AHA number. So instead, after completing the quest, you get 20,006.9 experience. But there is a wacky case where this exact number is rounded up, only for this specific scenario. And this leaves you with 20,007. The same exact developer that did the AHA number was also an intern at Jagex for 1 summer. So basically the most famous quest of all time in RuneScape history was created by an intern that worked at Jagex for less than 3 months. Honestly, that's kind of funny. Okay, let's talk about weapons. And no, I don't want to talk about Twisted Bows or Osmoten's Fang or even Dragon Daggers. Everybody knows about those weapons. Instead, I want to talk about Rune Claws. Yes, you heard that right. First look at Rune Claws might not be that interesting, but I promise you, this is the most fascinating item you have ever seen in your life. Firstly, it's one of the 2 rune weapons in the game that has a special attack, the other one being Rune Throne Axe. The problem is, the special attack isn't that effective. Basically, it gives you 10% boost on your attack. The downside is the next hit afterwards is slowed down by 0.6 seconds, which means it's actually less DPS to use the special attack than not touch it at all. Furthermore, the Rune Claw's special attack has a 25% chance to poison your targets, which I bet you didn't know. And this would be very interesting if it wasn't for the fact that Rune Claws has a severity of 0 poison damage, which means you can't actually poison your target despite the Rune Claws having a poison mechanic in the weapon. Now, I already know what you're saying, Kriibus, but there is a way to make the poison on Rune Claws work if you equip Serpentine Helm, which boosts your poison severity rate. That's a smart way of thinking, but unfortunately, Serpentine Helm only works for poisoned weapons and not special attacks, which honestly makes Rune Claws one of the most fascinating and useless weapons in the game. Okay, next thing I'm about to tell you is probably the most obscure thing you have ever seen in your life. I was blown away when I found out about this. You can make your own impling jars through a series of insane methods. And at first this might not look impressive, but the steps you have to take to get the impling jar is probably the reason why almost nobody in the history of this game has done it yet. So you need 5 items to make an impling jar. Firstly, a butterfly jar, some flowers, 8 anchovies, a pestle and mortar, and an empty vial. You come to Remington, you cook your anchovies. Once all of them are cooked, use pestle and mortar to turn them into anchovy paste. Then make your way into the chemist house and ask for a sieve. Once you have the sieve in your inventory, use the anchovy paste with the sieve to make anchovy oil. Now use the oil with the flowers and you get imp repellent. Are you still with me? I hope you are. And finally, use the imp repellent on the lamp oil still, and if you use your butterfly jar on it as well, bada bim bada boom, you get an impling jar through a process that absolutely nobody has ever used. And it only exists for the simple fact that there used to be cases where players got locked out of impling jars forever on their accounts. So this method was put in to counter that. Okay, enough about impling jars. Let's talk about Desert Treasure 2, the newest quest released in Oldschool Runescape. Everybody already knows the fun little things you can do with the leeches inside the scar, where you can use the item on the leech and it will start following you around. This has caused a lot of fun interactions where players feed billions of GP into the leeches. And you also probably know that there is a golem during the quest that you can operate on, which gives you a lot of interesting names with special dialogue. Firstly, you can find information about the 4 gods and their generals, and everything related to the Majorat. But that's not why we're here, are we? There are a few other interesting NPCs you can type in, like the guy from the Cooking Guild, and it says our character has access denied, which surely means that the Cooking Guild has now been taken over by the evil forces of Saros. You can also type in cats, which gives you a result saying that there is a 36.4% chance of personal injury when interacting with this animal. But that's not the only Easter egg in this questline. For instance, if you picklock the stone chest south of Stranglewood, you will be teleported to an island north of Seiya that has absolutely nothing in it. The only way to escape this place is to actually teleport out yourself. There is also a fire near Varrock that you physically cannot light. Every time you do try to light it up, the tinderbox will just break. And while we're on the topic of tinderboxes, there are other methods of losing your tinderboxes. This seems like a super rare occurrence that actually isn't that rare, but was just put into the game and everyone can do this if they wanted to. Basically, you can get 28 tinderboxes, go to the haunted mine, and there is a way to make yourself swim in the water. After the animation is completed, you now have 28 damp tinderboxes, which are tradable, but can't be sold at the GE, giving you a rare but not really version of the tinderbox. Okay, I want to talk about an armor that you probably have never seen before. It's this one, a very purple and transparent armor. Back in 2016, Jagex hosted a Cryptic search party, and throughout weeks and weeks they posted new hints on Twitter for people to find. The results were actually pretty hilarious. Every piece of the armor was obtained by bringing absolutely random items to certain NPCs. And throughout the weeks, players figured out how to get the full set. The armor itself has same stats as full iron, and it's not very useful, besides the amazing fashionscape statements you can do in-game. And you can get this exact armor yourself even today. I'll put the full solution down in the description, and while you're down there, make sure you subscribe to the channel because it helps me out a lot as well. I love you. Okay, I wanna end the video with some fun facts about bugs or glitches you might not know about, because throughout the years, there's been just so many of them, and I feel like they should be documented forever. So let's start with Phantuwti. Trust me, this will all make sense soon. There was this interesting bug that happened just a few days ago, where one player entered Raids 1, aka Chambers of Varrock, but instead they were teleported under the Kefri's room in Raids 3. This is what's called Phantuwti, which is Personal Area Forced Teleport. It's a bug that teleports you into instanced areas of other players, and it mostly occurs when you're using ladders, stairs, or anything else that teleports you somewhere else. But the problem here is that your final destination isn't set up properly. There was a great example of that when Song of the Elves was released, and during the Ardoin cutscene, the upstairs of Ardi Castle wasn't set up properly, so you could teleport to a completely different instance or even across the map. Another famous example has been the Trainer Village Bank, where the blue party hat used to be. Back in the day, people actually managed to get into the bank and steal the blue party hat, so Jagex had to change the item ID to make it useless. One more example of this was the Elysian Spirit Shield during Monkey Madness 2. Using force teleport to get into other people's instant areas will always happen in the game, and it's just because the game sometimes makes funny mistakes, and it's basically up to Jagex to play the cat and mouse game with players who abuse this. Oh, by the way, the guy who got teleported from Raids 1 to Raids 3 also had a genie event happening at the same time, which isn't supposed to happen inside Raids, and he never even got the lamp, which I feel like is the definition of getting scammed. And finally, I want to show you a funny bug that was patched fairly quickly, and it involved once again the same exact Tombs of a Masked raids, and more specifically, it involved this item. This is called Neutralizing Potion, and it's an item used in one of the rooms at the raid. However, there was a way to stall the game inside the raids, where you can spam click on the potions and take them outside. And since the value of the potion was 2 GP per potion, you can basically make 1.2 million GP an hour by just clicking on the boxes and spamming 100 potions at a time, and then later on dying to other players in the wilderness with the potions. Jagex has now fixed the bug, but it is estimated that this lasted for weeks or maybe even months, and some players even managed to set up a bot farm doing this method. In hindsight, tricks like these are always a good lesson to double check everything before you release it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you wanna get a free bond right here, right now, all you have to do is 2 things. Number 1, leave your in-game name in the comment section below, and number 2, subscribe to the channel. That's it. After completing those 2 things, you will automatically participate in the giveaway, which will be announced by the next video. But for now, I love you all very much, and I'll see you all tomorrow with another, hopefully the announcement of Leagues 4 video. Bye!